It was the morning of January 15th, 2007 in Tallahassee, Florida, when a local hunter set out to shoot several ducks. After what seemed like a normal session, he packed up his prizes and retreated home. He stored the ducks in his spare refrigerator until he could properly clean them. 2 days later, the hunter's wife uncharacteristically looked in the spare fridge. To her great surprise, despite all it had been through, Perky, one lucky duck, lifted up its head to greet her. After immediately calling a local vet, they referred her to the people of the Goose Creek Wildlife Sanctuary, a volunteer organization. The duck was taken in by them for further care while she awaited examination.
When the duck came in, I knew I needed to treat her for shock. I went ahead and started her on antibiotics. I knew she had a broken wing and a broken leg. We wanted to treat her for shock first because breaks aren't going to kill you, but the shock will. She did perk back up fairly quickly. I mean, it took a couple days to really be up to speed, but she was doing well and she started eating immediately.
Dr. David Hale would be the veterinarian in charge of Perky's recovery.
Perky came in as an anonymous duck in a long string of birds that have come in from Goose Creek Wildlife. And it's just like an ordinary day, just, Nani brought this duck in, and we met at the end of the day and looked over the duck, as we often do.
Perky had sustained a broken right wing and left leg. The several shots she had taken to the extremities and the bill had left her with a good deal of blood loss. After a few days of intensive care in the hands of Noni, Dr. Hale wanted to run one final test before performing any surgery.
So we actually set Perky in some water, and after a few moments of sort of not realizing that she was a duck in water, all of a sudden it seemed to occur to her that she was, and she just had a splashingly good time. And although the original intent was just to have her, see how without much weight bearing, how she might be using that leg that was injured, it actually turned into a real good time for Perky.
Saturday, January 20th, the day of the surgery, had arrived. Noni would be taking Perky to the Cross Creek Animal Clinic that afternoon. Although the surgery to repair the wing was fairly straightforward, Dr. Hale knew that keeping the bird properly anesthetized would be more than a challenge.
I knew right away that the anesthesia was going to be difficult because just the slightest adjustments on the anesthesia machine, and it was oxygen and isochlorine gas all the way, and either if we adjust it up a little bit, she would wake up. If we adjust it down a little bit, she would stop breathing.
During the operation, Dr. Hale's concerns had come true, and on several occasions Perky had stopped breathing. While she had been successfully resuscitated each time thus far, approximately 45 minutes into the operation, it seemed that Perky had finally run out of luck.
He was just opening the suture to close her up. He had already pinned the wing, and at that point, Walker said she quit breathing.
Despite efforts to, keep, just turn off the iso, keep the oxygen going.
And he worked on her for, and I can't even guess how long, and he finally looked at me and said, "I'm so sorry, she's gone."
I pronounced her dead. I mean, I seriously thought that she had died, and it was very, very disheartening.
Just as the operating room had fallen silent, Perky, once again defying all odds, arose from the dead.
Just when we all accepted that the duck had died, then Perky did what Perky does so well. Up comes the head, and the wings start flopping, and there was jubilation in the surgery room, and I actually threw the last couple of stitches in there with not a whole lot of anesthesia actually at that point.
Once released from the hospital, Perky was taken back with Noni, where she would be able to return to a somewhat normal lifestyle, or so they thought.
America has a new, seemingly indestructible hero. In just over a week, she's cheated death no less than 3 times.
Perky the duck, as it's now been called, has now become something of a national, even international celebrity, much to the delight of the Florida Animal Sanctuary where it's being cared for.
Perky's story quickly became international news as many of the world's top media outlets ran with the story. T-shirts began to sell worldwide.
We got a call from the Netherlands where they mentioned the Queen had mentioned the duck. Jay Leno, David Letterman, Paul Harvey all mentioned the duck. And then we called one day from San Francisco news station that John Madden is their sportscaster, and they said, oh, John mentioned the duck today. Could we call you tomorrow and get an update on the duck? And I said, oh, sure, that's fine. And they called the next day, and I'm sitting talking to the newscaster, and all of a sudden John Madden goes, Nani, what are your plans for the duck?
Perky's fame is due in large part to the many organizations that helped Goose Creek wildlife throughout. Perky remains in good care with the people at Goose Creek, and although she will never return to the wild, once fully recovered, she will be transferred to an education facility where she will teach children what it's like to be a duck. There are many stories like Perky's out there. Goose Creek Wildlife Sanctuary helps about 600 animals in similar situations each year, all while relying solely on volunteers and donations from the public. If you would like to help Perky and the many other animals just like her with a donation, please visit them at www.goosecreekwildlifesanctuary.org.